Hey everybody, welcome to the Scar Thumb Podcast. This is not going to be live. This is a pre-recording, or a recording, however you want to say it. I wasn't feeling well this week, so I didn't want to have to work out any of find a certain time or worry about being particularly entertaining or that kind of stuff. So I apologize. This week might be a little bit less, but channel's getting good growth. I didn't want to go a week without clips or content, so we're gonna get through it. But I apologize. The energy isn't quite so high. Things happen, but we're gonna start off a lot of Palworld news this week. I've been enjoying Palworld a lot. I probably have over 40 hours on now. Crazy amount. Addicted to Palworld. So we're looking at Palworld news, and man, 6 million. Look at this. Look at the video right here. 6 million Pal Tamers on Steam in less than 8 million. 8 million Pal Tamers on Steam in less than 6 days. That's insane. Palworld continued to be a huge success. Palworld becomes second game in Steam history to hit more than 2 million concurrent players. Just me and a couple million. My best pals is by Joshua Woolness over PC Gamer. Palworld continues to discover numbers I was unaware of. Did you know that there could be 8 million of something? I sure didn't. But the game went and sold just that many copies in the course of 6 days. Insane. And that's old news, frankly, because the Disney number of sales power has come the second game in history to reach over 2 million concurrent players on Steam, attaining an all-time peak of 2,018,905 players. Essentially seeking the best pals, that puts it ahead of Counter-Strike 2, Lost Ark, Dota, Cyberpunk 2077. Well, actually puts it literally ahead of everyone else on Steam except for PUBG Battlegrounds. Insane. Palworld's all-time peak is about 200,000 ahead of Counter-Strike 2's. It's got a long way before it could have the top spot. PUBG reached absurdly high 3,257,000 players back when it made waves and turned two-thirds of video games into battle royales back in 2018. Wow. Who knows if it's going to have that PUBG effect. Maybe will have a similar effect Fortnite could do with a Pokemon mode. You never know. But that's insane. The rest of the article is not important, but insane numbers for Palworld. It's just kind of become a cultural phenomenon here in the video game world. We already got the 8 million on Steam. And they released a roadmap. I don't know. I don't think the Palworld people really expected this level of success, but now they have an early access roadmap. And here is what they said: addressing critical issues, which makes sense that this would be the most important thing. Lots of bugs, especially online. A lot of weird issues and jank, which some of it is kind of. So it's kind of charming in a way. The roughness of the game isn't necessarily bad, but there are some really annoying bugs that are unfun. Like climbing onto a sphere and launching up into the air. Well, that's fun, no matter how you see it. But your pals constantly killing themselves, and every time you go back, they're weakened, depressed. They don't eat despite having all their facilities, which is what improvements to the implement ASAP. Key configuration improvements beyond Pal AI definitely, and pathing definitely needs work. I think that's probably the biggest thing right now is your pals having to babysit them constantly because they get stuck on something. They forget what they're doing. They don't work while you're not there. That's definitely something that needs to be improved. Future updates. I mentioned PvP. Raid bosses seem really cool. Pal Arena PvP for pals. Steam XI crossplay. Server transfers, migrations, improved building system. new islands, pals, bosses, and technologies. I mean, that kind of obvious where they go with like extra new content, new pals, new technologies. Very cool, but hopefully we'll see like some of the base issues improved pretty quickly. They've obviously got a ton of new money, but obviously no success lasts forever, and how they're going to ramp up this stuff and ramp up their staff or potentially their company will remain to be seen. It can be a hard thing to do. Success has its own issues, which we'll see right here. Palworld dev says they've received death threats amid Pokemon ripoff claims. Hit out at massively outlandish claims. This is from IGN by Wesley in Pool. An explosive launch, Palworld developer taking to social media to say it received death threats. Last week, I did report on how Palworld Pokemon with guns. Oh my god! If I hear Pokemon with guns one more time, man, I'm going to. I don't know. Pokemon with guns, guys. All right. Palworld developer Pokemon has insisted Palworld is more akin to survival crafting games such as Ark, Survival Evolved, and Valheim than Pokemon, but that doesn't stop people from continuing to hit out at the game. Pokemon community manager Bucky, who has been active on X Twitter, posted they'd received death threats as the game went live. Frankly, working through all the DMs and emails I promise, however, excuse me if I skip over death threats and threats to the company and massively outlandish claims. If you're capable of writing like an actual human being, though, I'll reply ASAP. Blackberry CEO Chiruko Mozobi also here they received death threats and head out at slanderous comments. Currently, we're receiving slanderous comments against our artists, and we're seeing tweets that appear to be death threats, Mozobi said. We receive a variety of opinions regarding Palworld, but on products related to Palworld are surprised multiple people, including myself. I'm responsible for the production. I appreciate you refrain from slandering the artists involved in Palworld. So yeah, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding it. Some people accusing of AI art. Some people accusing them of copying Pokemon, not necessarily copying, but ripping off assets from Pokemon, plagiarism, that kind of stuff. No one's really. Some people produce some decent cases, like comparing the models and showing, like, if they weren't stolen, which they probably weren't, they were at least, somebody used it as a base. Somebody looked at it and said, hey, here's some inspiration for me, which, in a lot of cases can be fair game. So it's very hard for anyone to really make the case that they directly plagiarized or stole assets. And no one's been able to have definitive proof that they've used AI. But, and of course, Pokemon fans are just, anything becomes super successful, there's going to be some crazy people that, do crazy stuff. So it's not surprising. I don't necessarily it's Pokemon community, but there's always crazies in every community. Let's move on. We've got a lot. One of the issues with Palworld's success is that there's a lot of snobby people come out talking about video games, video game content creators and journalists, that kind of stuff. They're talking about Palworld. Well, Eurogamer here with a ridiculous article. Is Palworld actually any good? Of course not. Elect a buzzkill. Oof. This is by Chris Tapsil, a deputy editor here at Eurogamer. You might have heard about it. Palworld is an utter gigantic first big mega hit of 2024 and potentially the biggest game we'll get all year, at least in terms of sheer popularity of players. And in terms of controversy and conversation around it at launch, yet if you're yet to hop on board and wondering what you're missing, you can relax. Palworld is big and controversial. It's also absolute rubbish. primitive and derivative in the game that appears at first glance almost to be completely fake. The type of quickly mocked up for a 3-second appearance on a teen's PC monitor on a mid-budget TV drama. A game to be played one-handed with an by Tony. Wow, this guy is really using a lot of funny metaphors. You can tell he's smart. You can really tell he's a smart guy by all these cool writing metaphors. He's a good writer, I can tell. It's difficult to know where to begin with games like this. How do you break it down into concept problems where it's clips? It's very cynical, precise reverse engineering machine designed to bottle your attention or refine it into concentrated cash. Ah, yes, that's just a cash grab. And is it cynical? Here's a developer talking to Wired Japan and responding to some admirable candor to a question about Nintendo and the culture, praising creating original high-quality works, and why he didn't get on with that, as translated by Eurogamer. I have a deep-rooted desire to be... This has gone around, by the way, and I think it's actually kind of cool. I have a deeper desire for my work to be enjoyed by as many people as possible, and then if there are good ideas in the world, I pick them up, and I don't think they need to be particular about originality. I want to make it less serious or rather more easygoing. I think it's good to create something in that way, like jumping on what's trendy, LOL. So people have gotten their feathers of, oh, he's not original. He doesn't want to be original. Which is, hey, you make good stuff still. It's good. And I want to bring this up. Let's see, Nintendo first party releases. Let's go to Reddit here. Thank you, Reddit. Let's see. Look at this. Here we go. It's been a great year. Let's see. Fire Emblem, a sequel to a series. Dreamland Deluxe. I think this is a remake. Kind of. Oh, Metroid Prime 2 Remastered. We've released Pikmin 1 and 2 again. Oh, a sequel. I like Pikmin 4, but again, another sequel. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it looked pretty good. Remastered of a game. Oh, another remastered and a shitty one. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp looked like dog shit besides really the OTS, but I didn't buy it, and all the reviews I've seen it looks like trash. WayForward did a terrible job. WayForward should, well, Minecraft themselves. But yeah, originality. Total originality. Nintendo's all about originality. Look at how original all of these things are. But moving on. Since we're talking about originality, I might as well bring up how original everyone in video games are. Fair enough. Let's move on. Fair enough. My bet to attempt that I would go reverse engineering. The problem with Palworld myself. Around Palworld, it's so far, and admittedly, an activity of mine comes from its success. So he's just fairly enough admitted he's bitter that it's doing so well. If all it feels a bit brutal of a discussion of an indie game that came out of nowhere, it's worth bearing. That's Palworld is wildly popular. But more than that, more importantly, feeling Palworld play is sour. Start up the game, you're given an option to play solo multiplayer server, typical creator. Beneath Prithwell, water-cluttered mournfulness is already diluted to a blandly vivid green hills with Genshin Impact. Here's watered down once again, filtered through mobile shovelware, entirely vapid non-place of the Galapagos Islands. Yeah, the environment is very generic. That is definitely true. From there, every direction there's something you've seen before. Moving in place here without context. Yes, there's a Pokemon element, roaming creatures with undeniably and maybe copyright infringing closest to the official ones. There are Palspheres add them. Goes far beyond Pokemon effect, Pokemon guns. As well as wearing thin, it's also a bit of a misnomer. You pick up rocks and twigs. Yes, it's not Pokemon with guns. Takes you forever to get guns. Back to the sensation. I'm going to skip through this crap. Back to the sensation of actually playing it. Palworld doesn't feel particularly great in literal sense, whacking trees with axes. So this person clearly doesn't like survival games. Same goes for the humor, which is less edgy than it's made out to be and more of a loud, so random internet humor kind. This guy knows what humor is, too. Let me tell you what. Palace break loose from those spirit. Cheeky bastard. Yeah. I thought that was kind of weird. I love the ragdolling. Potentially obvious attempt to apply cruelty in monster collecting games. It's something overt. I think the ragdolling is hilarious. The problem, I'd say, as well as a joke, it's just plain, oh, it's old, okay. He's better than this. Instead, the thrill of Palworld, admittedly, I'm yet to get it so far, or set anything elaborate, seems to become from the bottomless font of engagement that is false progression mash in some not Pokemon faces hit rocks. Got to club or do anything as some XP pop out. Love with characters, your pal, improving your stats, progressing through the most nonsensical skill tree. The reason for Power 6 is pretty clear. Among other things, it's a compulsion loop. Oh my god. Plenty of games, of course. Just look at the biggest success of the past decade or so. Come across any section of industry you fancy. It's just Palworld doesn't bother to hide it. It's also assembled in an admirably intuitive package. If you've a biggest awareness of video game logic from the 5 biggest games of the past 20 years, Pokemon, Minecraft, Fortnite, anything survival online, or anything it's derived from, you'll get it. I'm still trying to reverse engineer this one, so let's pull back a tiny bit. The real problem with Palworld is the less derivative approach itself, that it's totally shamelessness. It might be oddly refreshing to be open about your cynicism, but it also has an impact on the player. Play Palworld and you won't feel like you're playing something made with thought or craft or earnest team's best ascension. You won't feel admiration or wonder. You won't feel any real sense of achievement. You won't feel like an artist has been involved or anything meaningful might come to mind. Instead, you'll feel like you're playing a product designed to be sold rather than be played. You'll feel like a mark, and you'll be right. Wow. So, man, this guy says you'll be a mark, and you'll be right. So, see, and this is the snobbishness, like I said, I've seen from people talking about this. I've seen, like Donkey, Video Game Donkey, who used to make, funny videos, implying that it's, a basic game. And like, look, they're not wrong. There's something basic about it. It's a very basic game and has a lot of jank. The Pokemon are ripoff. The Pals are ripoffs. But when you put it together, it's fun. And this is what I don't get. I don't get how they see this as like sinister. When I'd see that as like guys like, hey, here's a bunch of like cool shit. We'll put it together and try and make something cool out of it. And that's, you look at Palworld stuff, you look at their design philosophy, the way like he talked about how like, hey, I'm not trying to make something original. I just want to be fun. Like, hey, you got some cool idea. Here's a bunch of cool ideas. We'll put it together and we'll make something cool. To me, this seems a lot like the sort of early 90s game development, like, hey, let's just make something rad. Let's not worry about, be the most creative, the most original thing in the world. Let's just make something cool. And early games like Blizzard did that too. Early Blizzard said, hey, let's take like a genre like MMOs. We'll make it really accessible and easy with the cool stuff in it, and it'll be a success. And that's what they did with the, stuff like WoW. I'm not, comparing that to Blizzard. Obviously, Blizzard, this is nowhere near the quality that they were able to do. But, hey, it's kind of cool. Like, when you see, like, let me see if I can bring it up. Palworld struggled to find a dev with shooter experience in Japan before stumbling on a self-taught hobbyist who worked at a convenience store. I wanted someone working at Palworld to be obsessed with guns, so I'm glad I met him. And this is Grums, who used to work for Blizzard, was the former team lead for World of Warcraft. OG Blizzard was like this. Samwise was a movie usher. Mentes was a watch repair guy. Pardo was QA. You don't need a degree. You need drive, a passion to create. So this is the sort of annoying part and that a lot of these like snobby people don't seem to get, is that it's just guys trying to make something cool. This idea that it's just this. I mean, this has a budget of like $7 million. Like, do you really think it's some like devious, market created creation? Do you think that they're doing a lot of like market testing and like QA and like, oh, how can I make the most devious loop out there to make people addicted to the game? Do you think they have those analysts in this? No, they're picking up guys from convenience stores. So I just don't get this look on it. I mean, I know, if like you're really snobby about your video games, or I mean, and even that, like, I don't blame anyone for like look at Palworld saying like, hey, it's cheap, it's janky, it's derivative, and not liking it. I mean, I think those are perfectly valid opinions of Palworld, but I don't get the this sort of like the way to imply that it's like plagiarizing or ripping off, or that's some devious attempt to like rip people off, or like, oh, we're just gonna make this perfect what's the word I'm looking for, like this perfect market focused, like a team of marketers just made this game specifically designed to entrap people. It's clearly not. Like, if you look at the developer and you look at the words that they're saying and what they've done, and then even their budget, this was clearly just a bunch of guys trying to make a cool game on a shoestring budget and having massive success. And instead of kind of being happy for them, people like this, these snobby game experts, video game experts, need, like Chris Tapesel, need to take a crap on them for it instead. So let's move on. Let's see. There's a few. I'm going to skip over these. There's a few like other crappier, like from like PC and Kotaku that kind of go over it. But man, I don't have the energy and time. There was one, IGN. I'll give credit to IGN and Travis North up here. I think they actually made a good review of it. Steam version talking about Palworld. Nothing about Palworld does seem. Nothing about what Palworld does seems like it should work in the slightest. A thinly veiled Pokemon clone where you and your collector's monsters shoot people in the face with literal guns. A base building survival game where you use your kidnapped creatures as laborers. You resort to cooking and eating those unplated fillets when times get tough. An open world co-op adventure where you and your friends thwack helpless sheep over the head with baseball bats to harvest wool. Defying the odds, the wholly irreverent gun-toting take on creature collecting genre has become unrelenting fun across the 100+ hours I spent shooting cartoon kittens in the face. As early as this game has got plenty of bugs and performance issues to go around, and sure, it shamelessly cribs the designs of many of its collectible creatures, but its survival mechanics are intuitive and deep. Its action by combat is silly and satisfying, and exploring its world in search of new pals to kick the snot out of hasn't come close to getting old. I'm baffled to report to you, reader, that Palworld is very good. I mean, this is like exactly. I mean, he says it in kind of like a fancier way, but totally agree with what he's saying. It's definitely a bit weird to hack a penguin unconscious with an axe. Goes on to talk about teaching pound the open world is a ton of fun. It's definitely a bit weird. It's hard to let's look into this further. It's hard to overstate just how effortlessly funny Palworld is, often feeling like satire of the creature collecting genre rather than another straight-faced iteration of it. For example, later in my playthrough, I accidentally discovered you can capture humans in your Palsphere by binding them to your will and allowing you to put them to work in your camp or take them to your adventures like regular pals. An insane inclusion that's never advertised to the player and has no purpose aside from being ridiculous. Or how you can give a rocket launcher to your panda pal to sit back and watch them blow up some poor woodland creatures into oblivion. Palworld is steeped in utter irreverence every step of the way, and that works to its benefit since creature collecting is already silly as heck to begin with. Let's see, and he goes on to say pals themselves, on the other hand, are quite as original as the process of catching them, and I describe the majority of them as almost copyright infringement. Seriously, there's a lightning mouse-like pal, sassy two-legged cat pal, a dinosaur with a flower on its head, and more remind me of an awful lot of some collectible monsters in the days of my youth. That said, uninspired and derivative as they are, the designs are still mostly pretty neat and have a lot of personality. It makes each one of them a ton of fun to hunt and battle against. I'm especially fond of the ditzy, nigh helpless Dolmud, a complete blob of creature who thrives up bouncing around the desert in the lifeless defiance of Darwinism. So, I mean, like, this is kind of, like I said, the good take on these things. Like, yeah, clearly you can, like, look at, like, a pal, like, like the dinosaur over here on the right. and see like, oh yeah, I can piece together different Pokemon and make that something that looks almost exactly like it. But hey, it's still fun. I don't think it can quite prove that it's plagiarism. I don't think it is quite plagiarism, but it's definitely a derivative. But who cares? It's fun. Is it? Do Pokemon don't own every single cartoonish looking creature catcher. If you look, I think even if you take a look at other creature catching games that are similar, more closer to Pokemon, you're gonna find some similarities. They don't know they're writing on dinosaurs with leaves. Let's just go down to the ending part. Verdict. Even in its early access, Palworld is amusing and irreverent, has a surprising amount of content and deep survival mechanics. Absurdly difficult to put down. It's impossible to overlook just how shameless it takes the ideas and designs of Pokemon. It's got some unsurprising bugs and performance issues, and the work of keeping your base supplied and topped off needs a little retuning, which I definitely agree. It definitely could use, though I don't know if this is intentional design or just pals really suck. The AI really sucks right now, because if my stuff would decide to farm ore instead of eating every half a second or getting stuck every half a second, it might be a little easier. But anyway, when you're riding on the back of a flying dragon while shooting a blue duck with an assault rifle, those blemishes wash away entirely. This is already one of my favorite survival games. I'm pretty excited to see how it evolves. So bam, exactly. It's got its bugs, it's got its issues, but it's fun. It's fun. And that's what those dorks that think, they're too good for Palworld don't get. Let's move on to some more Pal news. Some ridiculous, let's go to some ridiculous reactions to this. This was pretty ridiculous. Del Walker, this is a guy from Naughty Dog employee. He's got a Palestine flag in right by his name, so he's got a good opinion. My God is telling me Palworld is made nefariously. I have no proof, just dev intuition. No accusations, no proof. But there's some hidden malfeasance here, Watson. I can sense it. And he's got, Cumberbatch, Sherlock Holmes. Mega Gabe is just so difficult. They're cheating somehow. I can't pinpoint how. Senior artist at Naughty Dog. No, what a BAFTA committee judge. Previously in Respawn Rocksteady Games. So they have to be cheating. There's no way. I think the reality is it just, used a lot of generic assets. Maybe took a lot of inspiration from other places. And then players feared the worst, and more kind of random Palworld news. I've seen every journalist site use this goddamn mod for their screenshots. Palworld players fear the worst after it takes down Pokemon mod video. Palworld players are fearing the worst after a Pokemon video of an upcoming Pokemon mod is taken down by Nintendo. Incredibly obvious when you look at both games since the launch. They took this down, this video. I guess you can't watch it anymore. But it showed Ash, shooting Pokemon with a gun. Replaced the guy with Ash. And, the pals with Pokemons of their respective types. No shit that Nintendo would take this stuff down. They sure as hell don't want their family-friendly image. They don't want Ash shooting Pikachu with an assault rifle or, a shotgun. A video out there of them doing that in the game. That would kind of ruin, like I said, their brand and their image. Kind of like the new Chung-Li mod. Not good. So, of course, they take that down immediately. But does this mean that they're going to sue Palworld? Well, they did make a statement, not specifically, but inquiries regarding other companies' games. We've received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. That's Palworld. We have not granted any permission for use of Pokemon intellectual property assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts of infringement on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world and work together to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. This is from the Pokemon Company. Some people have been saying, like, oh, man, this means they're going after Palworld. And this says absolutely nothing. This is just lawyer speak, like, hey, we know about the game, and we will defend our intellectual property. Like, does it mean that they're investigating? Actually, I'm sure they are, considering how successful it is, and considering how close some of the stuff is. They're probably taking a look and saying, like, hey, is it really worth suing this company? Do we have a case? But this doesn't actually say anything. You could say this about anything, whether they intend to do it or not. Like, hey, we'll defend our intellectual property, which, wow, Nintendo has always done and will continue to do in time immemorial. This is a former Pokemon legal chief, says the Palworld looks like the usual ripoff nonsense I would see 1,000 times a year, and he's surprised it got this far. Again, Palworld, this is from Joshua Woolens at BC Gamer. Palworld is Pokemon with guns. Like I said, I've seen this like 5,000 times. I'm just getting a little old. So this is McGowan. Don McGowan is the former head of the Pokemon Company's legal team. And he wasn't mincing words. We had chat with GameFile. Said Palworld looks like the usual ripoff nonsense that I would see 1,000 times a year when I was a chief legal officer of Pokemon. It's an accusation that Palworld developer Pocket Player must have been used to hearing by now. For its part, the developer said there's no intention of infringing on intellectual property of the companies itself, which is always game to send out cease and desist letters when it catches a whiff of copyright infringement. Hasn't made any moves to shut down the game. Has a point, maybe the CEO has a point when it says the game is far more compared to Arc. I mean, obviously, the game itself and the gameplay is not Pokemon. It's really just the designs of Pokemon and the idea that, some people might mistake this for a Pokemon game when, it could clear and that, what kind of damage that could potentially cause to the Pokemon brand. Obviously, nobody, like, would your grandma probably would confuse, pals and Pokemon for the same games, and like, why are you shooting this poor little Pokemon with a shotgun, or why are you butchering it with an axe? So they could sue on that. I think Legal Mindset had a pretty good video about it, where like there's definitely grounds here for Pokemon to sue, but whether it'll be successful it remains to be seen. It's not like a slam dunk case, so whether they do or not is kind of up to Nintendo and what they can find through their investigations. Rose McGowan saying the fact that it's a ripoff, I'm calling it a ripoff, is I don't know. I don't agree with Mr. McGowan here. I think he's full of crap. And then of course, should we have some other things like this was like a reason like 1v1 comparison to this is an unreleased PAL, but the person that did this admitted that they scaled up the model in their video to make it look similar. They weren't the exact scale, and that they were just doing it because I think it's discussing how Palworld glorifies animal abuse. So some of the people making these asset claims that they stole assets, lying about it. And moving on, some other Palworld news. Apparently, there's also a fake account that even got its like gold badge too, so it looks very much like Palworld. This is but it's at Pal WCRLED, and this is like a fake thing trying to sell you NFTs, Palworld NFTs. So with the success of Palworld, out come the scammers to try and sell NFTs to you. Be on the lookout. I'm surprised that it's that easy to get a gold thing for it. I'm sure X is going to take that down. I would imagine, because it's clearly trying to impersonate. But hopefully people don't get rip-offed for Palworld NFTs. But speaking of other legal action, Nexus Mods refuses to host Palworld Pokemon Mod out of fear of legal action from Nintendo. Nexus Mod, one of the big mod hosters, has gotten into controversy over refusing to have certain mods that like maybe take out pronouns from the game, like his or him, or Spider-Man thing. They banned the guy for taking a mod that would took the LGBT flags out of the Spider-Man game. But they will not mess with. They'll fight their community and they'll fight against other things. But Nintendo, they will not mess with. So he won't be hosting any Pokemon game mods for Palworld because they do not want that smoke from Nintendo. We don't think it's worth the risk to allow this content to be in our shared community. At best, we would have it to deal with the headache of DSMA legal threats from Nintendo. At worst, they may seek to take action against us and the uploaders of the mods directly. There are many creative opportunities to explore mods for this game and add the world to gameplay, but do not infringe on existing IP. So obviously, really excited to see what Palworld community comes up with. Yeah. You don't want any of it. Oh, this was on IGN from Wesleyan Pool. This is just, we mentioned this before, and there's just some funny memes. This, of course, Soulless Sham ripoff, dunking on Pokemon because their environments look like crap. I mean, this is generic Unreal like 5 assets, but it still looks better than the crap that Switch and Pokemon are coming up with, which is a shame because you look at Breath of the Wild or, Tears of the Kingdom. Switch is capable of a lot prettier environments than what Pokemon is clearly showing off. And then, same thing, Soulless Clone, massive AAA franchise. Yeah. Of course, PC versus Switch, they definitely have an edge there. This is just some random memes, Palworld updates, showing the sort of fun that this game lets you have. Poor Pangolin here, massive level 50. This has been like super bred one-shotting the level 49 Blazemut here. But burly body, ferocious Lord of the Sea legend. This has been like bred to be top level, just insane. The super Pangolin here. I love this stuff. I love it when a game lets you do crazy stuff like this. It's awesome. This is from Correct Fox 4545. Amazing. And then, of course, wouldn't be a video game if we couldn't make a 9/11 joke. There goes one of the towers there. Oh God. Leave it to gamers, man, to find a way to make a 9/11 joke. Of course, do not look at my Twitter. That, of course, more Palworld memes that I found funny. Getting rid of your creatures and Pokemon is just release. And then, of course, Palworld, you do it a very different way. A very different and crazy way. Oh, and finally, this is a mod. I've loved Freeland to the Journey End, and this replaces Cativa with a little mini Freeland. This looks fantastic. A dopey mod, but amazing. I love the way little Freeland looks. Just running around fighting. It's a shame they couldn't replace it with the sound effects. They'll have to do that next. They got to really add some Freeland sound effects. Let's see. Got the emote too. Oh, look at that. Cute. So cute. Little Freeland mod. That's on. I'll have the link for that in the Discord. Not the Discord, what am I saying? In the description of the chat. This is from Axeman on his channel. We'll give him a thumbs up here. Showing off that Freeland mod. Very cool. But if that's it for the Palworld news, let's move on and do some other gaming news that is not very good. Kind of a bad news. Stunned devs left scrambling for livelihoods in wake of yesterday's layoff bloodbath. In the end, the contributions didn't matter. Devs have found themselves adrift after the aftermath of swinging layoffs. Is that swingling? Whatever. Layoffs across Activision and Xbox. Josh Woolens, use your words. This is Josh Woolens at PC Gamer. Entire industry is still reeling from yesterday's bombshell announcement at the Microsoft, hot on the heels of its almost $70 billion acquisition, will be laying off 19,000 employees across Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox. And heavily Twitter was awash with reactions, highlights the human cost from dazed devs waking up in a world in which they no longer have jobs, and from others wondering what it means for the months ahead. This post by former devs are too many to count. After years of applying, wrote former QA specialist Cole McEwen in a much retweeted post, I finally secured a job at Blizzard, moved to California, and welcomed with an incredible team. I couldn't be more excited to start. 4 months of the job, I'm laid off. What the hell, Microsoft? Oh man, a lot of devs finding out they do not have jobs. Some devs are relieved to wonder what the game industry is even going to look like as time wears on, and even more layoffs skin their teeth in. More layoffs sink their teeth in. An Excel director of communications, Macau Whipple, wrote that he started his career at Blizzard tech support, entry-level job, helping people get D2 and StarCraft running on their PC. That path no longer exists. Maybe anywhere. The sheer brutality and nonsensical nature of the layoffs was a hammer home yesterday about the concurrent headlines announced that Microsoft, which vies with Apple for first place among the most valuable companies on Earth, had really become the second company in human history to cross $3 trillion market cap. The notion that a company with this staggering scale has no alternative but to cut 1,900 people free from their livelihoods was more than a little hard to swallow, and the absurdity which highlighted the tweet by Blizzard senior designer George Murlo, who shared his last message sent in the company's Slack, "Look, I'm just happy we're able to provide some value to the shareholders." Of course, Joshua Woolens has to put in like some anti-capitalist crap towards the end, but hey, that's how it works. I think a lot of people kind of expanded, with COVID. There's a big bump to online games, online stuff, and there was an acquisition too. So there might be some areas where there's overlap or redundance, and it sucks. It sucks, but it's not too surprising. There is a lot of this going on, and this is another bunch of game studios that laid off employees, and we're not even out of January. People Can Fly, Black Force Games, Recon Games have all reportedly made deep staff cuts by Andy Kalk over at PC Gamer. Turtle email that more than 30 people worked in the studio. Project Deme, we're going to be let go. Awful year for people in the video game industry. Studio reportedly laid off employees this week. A developer from Painkiller bullish from Outriders, where layoffs have happened. So this continues. Recon Games, Cyberpunk, Ruiner, they're cutting off 60 people. It's been brutal. We also have, Riot laying off 530 employees, and we'll close Riot Forge. We're not doing this to be shareholders or to hit some quarterly earnings. And they're going on to say that has had a number of big bets since 2019 and expanding into a multi-game, multi-experience company. Now, however, there are too many things underway, and some of the bets aren't paying off as well as expected. Hiring freezes, cost control measures have not been enough, making layoffs a necessity for Riot. Though, luckily for Riot, when you look at this, their severance package, everything has been put out. Will get a 6-month minimum severance pay plus bonus based on their 2023 annual budget, health benefits, additional pay for expenses previously covered by Riot's Play Fund and Wellness Fund, as well as access to job placement services for 6 months and support for those who hold visas as part of their employment, and a few other considerations. So at least the Riot guys get a few nice severance packages, but it also kind of mentions that their card game Runeterra wasn't doing as well as they hoped. Couple of changes. Yeah, the card game Runeterra, which hasn't met expectations. Live development team reduced. Ongoing focus will change to the Path of Champions PvE mode. Forge, which I was trying to make like, I guess, like this single player League of Legends experience, like a League of Legends game. So there's a lot of different games, especially, like I said, 2020 had that big bump. Things are contracting now. Video games are not as huge as it was during the COVID lockdowns. So we're seeing more contractions there. And then this is from PC Focus. This is get a community note saying that Microsoft had shut down the Xbox physical games division. Remember just that they are quitting the physical industry. You can get an idea where Microsoft is going. You will own nothing from Xbox if they go full cloud gaming. Double middle fingers. Just got a note that did not confirm they are quitting the physical game industries. That's an implication drawn by the tweet author that might not be accurate. As the second tweet the author post stated, but this is going from Jez Cord. Microsoft shut down the department dedicated to bring Xbox games to physical retail, which if you've seen the digital-only Xbox console leak, you can get an idea of where Microsoft is going here. Of course, it also says reducing retail teams does not confirm Microsoft is quitting retail for Xbox games yet. But interesting that they might be a physical-only software-only Xbox. An Xbox without a disc tray, which wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. I think Steam Deck is already, Steam Deck, and there was like a Steam console that I don't think was quite as popular as Steam Deck, but had its own. This has kind of been a thing, it's been coming down the line, but you haven't really seen a major one. A software-only, streaming-only console. But I would not be surprised if this is the direction that Xbox wants to go. Honestly, I would be surprised if it's not the direction all gaming wants to go. All game companies want to go right now. Of course, I don't see Switch doing that. If that is the big thing is like mobile gaming. You do need an internet connection for like a lot of like iPhone games, but for the Switch, for Steam Deck, you clearly need, if you're going to move around and play, you clearly want the ability to do that offline. And having, for Steam Deck they do it through just storage, I believe, but Switch having that, game disc, I could see them being like sort of the last holdout. More sort of Xbox news. If Microsoft takes Call of Duty down, or Halo, it will be disastrous. Halo has contractors who work for the game that Microsoft outsources to work to, but these contractors only work for 18 months, take a while to get up to speed in projects, and the contracts end before they're able to complete work. Jason Schrader shared what's happened with Halo a few years back. As usual, one of Halo Infinite's biggest development problems was labor. A large chunk of the 343 workers were on contracts and could stay longer than 18 months due to Microsoft restrictions. Full-time promotions were rare, so the studio was constantly losing talent and knowledge. The entirety of Microsoft has a long history of using and being sued for abusing contracts. And then Ben Gilbert. The contractor bit is fascinating to me. Surely Microsoft leadership knows that it takes longer than 18 months to make a huge AAA game like Infinite. So why employ so many contractors? This bureaucracy thing where Microsoft is huge and makes a lot of other things? The limit is because they want to avoid perma-temp situation that got them sued a while back, but they insist on still having X% of headcount be contractors because corporations. This is an actual real reason, but this could be one of the ideas that one of the issues happening with video games at the moment, especially with Microsoft, is that they just want to get contractors rather than full-time employees. Keep headcounts low, where they could just reduce and get rid of them easily, rather than worry about downsizing later. Of course, they just downsized a bunch of people, but this is kind of interesting to see where they're going with this. Not in a good place, it seems. Not surprising that games would have problems when most of your workers only stay 18 months, gets recycled out every 18 months. I don't see how you make a game like that. It does seem pretty crazy, but hey, this is one we have, a corporate corporate, business managers running your studio instead of actual artists and people with creative vision. Do you want to go over this? I'm not gonna bother. All right, guys, that is it. We're gonna end it here.